Today I'm going to show you how to turn this thrifted quilt I bought for $6.99 and turn it into this jacket. I made this tutorial specifically with beginners in mind, so there's very little hemming, and the only things you'll need for this project are a quilt, scissors, tape, this PDF pattern, and the will to live. Once you print out the pattern, all you need to do is line up the edges of the pages without overlapping and tape each page together. Now there should be 4 pages across and 6 pages down. My pattern looks a little different from yours because this is the ungraded original, but I promise it's the same steps. Once all the pages are taped, cut along the line that matches the size that you want to make. If you know you'll definitely be making more than one size, I suggest transferring it to some recycled cardboard or something and cutting out those so you don't have to keep printing out new patterns. Once you have all your pattern pieces, you're going to take your quilt, fold it in half, and place the front labeled pattern piece aligned with the corner and the finished edges like you see here. This will make it so we don't have to hem them. You're going to cut this out and come back when you're done. Now that you have the 2 front pieces, you're going to place the back labeled part on the fold and lined up with the finished edge of the quilt. You're going to cut that out and come back when you're done. You're going to do the same thing with the sleeves. Line it up on the fold and the raw edge and cut it out. Now, one part of upcycling is that you're restrained by the amount of material you have. You can't just go to the store and find that exact color or pattern. That's what happened to me here. I didn't have enough fabric to cut 2 hood panels by themselves, so I had to cut the fabric and kind of Frankenstein them together. Once you have all your pattern pieces cut out, you're going to want to sew each panel shut using a zigzag stitch along the edge. This might take some time, but it'll make sure that your edges don't unravel, and it also makes it look 1,000 times better. If you have a serger, definitely use that, but again, if you're a beginner, you might not have one, so just line up the edge of the panel so that the zigzag stitch enters the fabric on one side, but not the other. I've linked to a more detailed video in the description if you want to take a look at that. Once all your pieces are sewn shut, we're going to start putting things together. The first step is to sew the shoulder pieces right sides together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. You can top stitch this piece down for a more professional and secured finish. The next step is to add the sleeves. You're going to spread the front and back pieces so that it looks like mine does here. Then fold your sleeve in half, and with the right sides facing each other, place the middle of your sleeve in line with the shoulder seam to make sure that each side is even. Then pin or clip the sleeve into place. I always mess up here, so make sure that it's right sides together. You're going to do the same thing with the other sleeve and then sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Again, top stitch for a more secure and professional finish. Now we get to the hood. This is the only bit of hemming you'll have to do, and to do it, you just fold the finished edge of your hood 1 inch and pin and sew that down. If you don't want to see the finished edge, you can fold it over twice to hide it. Your jacket should now resemble an actual jacket. And to attach the hood, fold the hood in half and place the fold in the middle of the back panel to make sure both sides are even. And then, like the sleeve, unfold the hood and pin down along the neckline. Sew and top stitch this down and come back when you're done. Now we've got a pretty legit jacket, and all we need to do is turn it inside out and sew along the side, armpit, and sleeve seam. This should be one long stitch, so go ahead and do that now. Wow, holy guacamole! Your jacket looks probably not the best, but probably not the worst either, and I am so proud of you. Now we're going to add the pocket, buttons, buttonholes, and we'll be done. Again, there's a finite amount of fabric, and I only had enough to Frankenstein one pocket. But all you need to do is fold the edges in, pin them down to the front piece, and sew them down. Definitely pin and see where it's comfortable, because depending on your height and your arm length, the lower pocket or higher pocket might feel better. So sew that puppy down, and you only have 2 steps left. For buttons, I like making them all different to add some character, so I bought this assorted pack at Michael's, which is linked in the description below. But I also just learned about these stores where they sell secondhand art supplies, so if you're into upcycling and secondhand markets and stuff like that, and you don't want to feel weird about buying new things from like a big chain store like Michael's, I've also linked a couple that I know of in the description, and definitely check them out. I hand sew the buttons on, for which I've also linked a video below because I can't explain it better than the video linked. For buttonholes, I've also linked a how-to video because I still have to watch that video every single time I sew buttonholes. We're all still learning here. If you are able to try and make this jacket, I would absolutely love for you to send a picture on Instagram of your final product, because I really want to see how it turned out, because it's been so fun for me to make these and make videos about them, and I really want to see how it turned out for you. But if you have any questions along the way, any problems, anything like that, just send me a message on Instagram. I will do my best to respond. But by now, you officially have your own homemade quilted jacket.